Welcome to Khanversations. I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan, and today I have with me Dr. Bharti Chhibber, who is from New Delhi, India, and she is also part of the U.S. Institute on American Foreign Policy. And we are going to be talking to her about her reaction to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United States and the tremendous respect and accolade that has been granted to him by the United States, a state visit, an address to the joint session with the Senate and the House of the U.S. Congress. You could argue that so much respect and so much status has not been extended to perhaps any other leader in a long time. So in this exciting moment of U.S.-India relations, Professor Bharti is here in the United States participating in this program on U.S. foreign policy. But before I start talking to her, I want those of you who are visiting Khanversations for the first time to subscribe to the channel, like the video, remember to ring the bell icon, and later on, do share this video with your friends and your colleagues. So Professor Bharti Chhibber, welcome to Khanversations and welcome to the United States.
Thank you, Professor. Namaskar, thank you. It's a pleasure to be part of Professor Khan Conversations.
Bharti is a professor in Delhi University, and she teaches international relations and American foreign policy and U.S. Indian policies too, India's relations in the Indo-Pacific, India's relations well, you guys you don't call it Middle East, you call it West Asia, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So India's relations with West Asia. She's also a public intellectual, so you must have seen her on TV, on YouTube, and in newspapers too. So I'm absolutely delighted to have her here. So I'm going to give you an easy question. How do you react to all this ceremonial excitement about U.S.-India relations, Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States, and the growing relations between the two countries, Bharti?
Well, Professor, I think it's a watershed moment in India-US relations. It's very exciting, absolutely wonderful. And I would say that this is because of what I can see is 5 C's. That is how I'm going to describe it. The cooperation is based on conviction and compassion, which Prime Minister Modi has already mentioned. But I would also add 2 more things. One is convergence of interest and also kind of commitment that they have towards each other and towards a global order, which is rule-based as well as which is based on resilience. The kind of agreements that you see. So the initial hype, or as you said, the popularity which highlights, it's not only symbolic. I would say it's more about transformation. It's more substantive because the kind of agreements that have been signed. We can talk about the chip maker Micron technology, where we'll be having a unit in Gujarat itself, where we'll have packaging and testing of the semiconductors. This is kind of a movement towards, I see, a movement towards not only what we used to see from being an importer of technology, or an importer rather of goods, from being supplier and manufacturer, and also now what we can see, we are not only buyers, we are actually producers. That is how I see this. Take another example. We talk about the drones that India will be importing, will be very useful in Indian Ocean in terms of surveillance. And the most important technology transfer that we see is towards jet manufacturing, that is between Electric and Hindustan Aeronautics. So we are becoming towards not only manufacturing, but perhaps tomorrow we'll be the exporters from importer. So I believe it's a watershed moment between the two countries.
Yeah, I mean, technologically, it's going to be like if this deal would not happen, India was growing like this technologically. Now it's going to be it's like an elevator. It will lift India. So, for example, the F414 engines India will become one of the few countries that actually will be making fifth-generation jet fighters. For example, right now, I think it's only the US, China, Russia, and I think I'm not even sure whether the French make it and whether French Rafale jets are fifth generation or not, but India would be among the 4 or 5 countries which will be making. So that is an exciting point. So how did you see? Did you see the speech that Prime Minister Modi gave? Can you tell us what your reactions are to the speech?
I think he touched the core of the people. He touched all the important subjects when he addressed the Congress. And I think the applause that he got after that, he actually deserved it, because he spoke about Indo-Pacific, which changes the whole dynamics and which is the crux of India-US partnership when it comes to containing China because of aggressive postures. The dynamics in Indo-Pacific is not only strategic, it's also economic, it's also about climate change. It also deals with terrorism or for that matter, transnational organized crime. So I think that is one thing. Secondly, he spoke about the diaspora as well as the people who have Indian roots. And he spoke about Kamala Harris also. Yeah, exactly. So that's very exciting. The third important thing he mentioned is about during the speech, he spoke about India, mother of democracy. So I think he preempted the kind of question that perhaps will be coming later on. And the best part, when I say confidence, confidence can also be seen in the trust that both the countries had, because this was for the first time that Prime Minister Modi actually took questions from the press, so that actually highlighted, because when we talk about India being mother of democracy, we're going to Vedas and we're going to the Vedic period. And this actually highlighted the confidence that India has. And in democracy, we have diversity. It's not only about being tolerant, it's about being accepting. So that is what India is. So I think he touched upon all the important issues that during his speech to the Congress.
Do you think the way he spoke about Ukraine and Russia, did he say the things? See, Americans want India to completely decouple from Russia very clearly. This whole defense agenda is to basically end India's military dependence on Russia, right? So I think it's like saying that if you are dependent on Android, my gifting you an iPhone might swing you away from that, right? So giving F414 technology would be one way to take away. So do you think that Prime Minister Modi's, the way he talked about the war in Ukraine without actually mentioning Russia or even condemning Russia, do you think that was adequate, or were the Americans happy, you think, with the West?
Yeah, I think, see, basically, since we are talking about the advanced technology, which is going to be, I believe, the next battleground, we are moving from, when we talk about Cold War, we're moving from political to economic, then energy, water, and now we are moving towards advanced technology. So that is one thing which binds them together. And when we talk about Russia, since India was dependent on Russia so much, so first we diversified our imports, especially in the armaments, from US, Israel, and other countries. And now we are talking about self-reliance. So we are moving one step further from there. And this transfer technology that we are looking from the US, which adds to this watershed movement. So I think because India said very clearly that, or Prime Minister Modi said very clearly that he's for peace and he is willing to help in any way to help in terms of having a dialogue or resolving the Ukraine crisis. So I think that is good enough in terms of ensuring that India is for peace. But at the same time, I believe that it doesn't take anything away from this moment, this landmark moment between India and US, because it actually highlights that they have reached that critical point, that where there are convergences, and both the countries, they have started appreciating each other's perspective. US is more willing to understand India's perspective in terms of national interest, how India sees its national interest in terms of strategic autonomy or strategic defense. And also, we also appreciate US concerns with China, or for that matter, our common concerns in Indo-Pacific. So I think both have started appreciating each other's perspective, and there's more understanding between the two.
Coming to the Indo-Pacific strategy, clearly the Indo-Pacific strategy is the spearhead of US efforts to contain China. If there is a Cold War, then the war side is in this whole Indo-Pacific strategy. The Quad is going to be the main bulwark against China, right? So in the long run, do you think that India becoming embroiled in a Cold War-like situation? India tried to sit out the previous Cold War, clearly. The whole non-aligned movement was trying to say, we're not getting into this fight. But now India will be at the epicenter of Cold War II, and the chances of, if there is a hot war, it could be on the Indian border, right? So what are your views of the advantages or dangers of the Indo-Pacific strategy? And do you think that India is ready to benefit from this without risking its own national security?
Professor Khan, that's an absolutely wonderful question. See, how I see it, India and US, or for that matter, even Australia and Japan, the 4 Quad members, and also Quad Plus, which involve Vietnam and other countries, ASEAN countries, which are the central to whole notion of Indo-Pacific, or for that matter, the recently launched Indo-Pacific Economic Forum. So I believe it is a wider region, wider countries which are coming together, and only one reason, they're different aspects: climate change, economy, energy security. But there's one country, China, which due to its aggressive postures is creating, or is the reason. And without naming, even in the recent declaration, without naming China, they have said that they believe in the rule-based order, inclusive, free and fair navigation, and United Nations, especially law of the sea or sea convention, it has to be followed. And any country which tries to alter this unilaterally, which of course is China, they will be taking strong action against it.
Let's move away from talking about defense-related issues. One of the big stories or sub-stories here is the Indian diaspora in the US, particularly. I mean, there were at least 6 people in that room, 5 Congress members and vice president who are of Indian origin. And, I say this jokingly, but to me, the dream election in 2024 would be Nikki Haley versus Kamala Harris. So it doesn't matter who wins. The first woman president of the United States could be an Indian American woman. But is there the same degree of excitement and recognition of the Indian diaspora in India as there is excitement for India in the diaspora?
Yes, of course, Professor Khan. Because when we talk about Indian diaspora, Prime Minister Modi has repeatedly said about them. Not only he has appreciated their contribution in terms of remittances to India, but also in terms of their contribution to American development. They are, I think, like you, they are actually contributing in academics, in STEM, which is a very important field. So that is one thing, and also in terms of voting patterns. Elections are due in both the countries next year. It may be a small factor because there are larger factors like local, international, foreign policy issues. But yes, these things also do matter. So yes, diaspora is being appreciated. For example, I was also hearing the meeting that the Prime Minister had with the diaspora. And there he not only appreciated, he also invited them to India as entrepreneurs. So investments in India, which is another critical issue. So how I see it, that in addition to diaspora, what binds India with diaspora, what binds India and US is US has investments, and we have cost efficiency. We have STEM. US has technology. And what we have is reliance. But since we are talking about supply chains reliance that we have, take the example of many companies, including iPhone or Apple. They are moving towards India, and it is said that by 2024, even 2025, at least 25% of iPhones, they will be manufacturing in India from China. So I think these are the things which US is looking, and which binds India and US to have more democratization in supply chains, which is another critical element.
I mean, not only that, the English language as a common medium is something very exciting. And I I mean, yeah, I think getting somewhere like 100,000 Indians coming to America practically every year. We have thousands of students coming here who stay here, then people who are just coming straight up for jobs. So yes, there's a kind of a brain drain taking place also for India, but India seems to have so many talented people that they can afford to lose a few million and not really miss them, right? So that's also, there's a cultural side to this people to people relations. So I'm going to give you an example and say that the US has special relations with some countries like UK and Israel. You can see that, right? Is India going to be that third country which has that kind of special relations with the US?
Yes, of course. The diaspora is making a mark. Another agreement that has taken place is about visa. Skilled laborers or the skilled people, they'll be getting easy visa and visa renewal. So I think diaspora has been appreciated. They are contributing to both the countries, US and India. And of course, the people who have roots in India, but now have been staying for generations in US, they're also there in the Congress, both the parties, as the Prime Minister addressed the Congress, so we can see Republicans and Democrats. So I think they are being appreciated, acknowledged, and playing a very critical role in, as you said, people to people participation or contacts, but in public-private partnership also. So that is adding to India-US relationship.
All right. So I've been asking very easy questions. So here's a tough one.
Okay.
There are countries which have dual citizenships, like Pakistan has a dual citizenship. Turkey, I know, has dual citizenship. Most European Union countries, I think, allow dual citizenship. Yeah, I think I have colleagues who have citizenship in European countries as well as in the US. Do you think that India should change its policy and allow dual citizenship? If we are investing so much in India, we're giving money, we are investing, we are educating, participating, why shouldn't we also be allowed to vote?
Yeah, let us see. There are so many changes which are happening, So perhaps this can also be a change in terms of having dual citizenship. But then, Professor, you'll also agree with me that India is very different in terms of diversity and also issues that we are facing from our borders in terms of transnational organized crime, in terms of terrorism. So we cannot have like dual citizenship for one country. Either we do that, because if you're going to open, but if you're going to open for everyone, then that also involves national security dynamics. So that is something that needs to be pondered upon. It's a very good suggestion and I agree, but then we have to take into account our national security issues also, because if we open it for everyone, then that can be a hindrance not only in terms of national security, terrorism, or also since in terms of India's internal dynamics, we have seen people or the refugees or others who are coming to India from different countries and changing the local dynamics of Northeast and other states, which create another additional problem. We have problems with our neighboring countries, but also internally, the people feel that people who have come from outside, they are putting additional strain on the resources and changing the demography. So that adds to another issue. So a lot of things have to be taken into account before India takes that decision.
All right. So this has been a very interesting conversation, and Bharati is going to be here for another 5 weeks. So we will find more reasons and occasions to talk. And even after she goes back, obviously, we can continue talking. So thank you for coming on Khanversations.
Thank you, Professor. My
very
pleasure.
happy. I hope people like the show. Even if you didn't like it, please subscribe to Khanversations, ring the bell icon, like the video, and share it with everybody. And until next time, be happy. This is Muqtedar Khan for Khanversations.